Senior Church.
See?
We have hit 100 episodes. I just looked.
Total, yeah.
I mean, the main episodes, what are we at, like 50-something?
Yeah, like 55.
But if you add in the DBS and the bookcast and all the other stuff we do, 100.
It's pretty good.
For us, I think that's pretty damn skippy.
How long have we been doing this now?
I don't know. Seems like fucking an eternity. Don't even want to do it anymore. It's just like devil comes in with his pitchfork and we're sitting here and there's flames around us and we just have to do it.
I never got around to watching that one, what's that one sci-fi movie with Matthew McConaughey with Christopher Nolan and like Interstellar? Is that it?
Interstellar.
Yeah, and like just
such a good movie.
But I've been seeing the meme where it's just like the two of them on a planet and it's like 1 hour here is 7 years on Earth. And that's just what like now feels like.
I think it was more ridiculous. I think it was like 20 years.
Oh, maybe.
Or something, yeah. That movie will make you cry. Because he misses his whole kid's life in that 1 hour. And then he goes back and gets all the video that they were sending him thinking he's dead. Yeah. Because obviously like 20 or 40 or whatever years. It might even be like 30 or 40 years. It was ridiculous. And then the one guy that they left on the ship, like to watch the ship, he's just like really old. He's still alive though. And they're like, you've been up here for 20 years? It's like, yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend anybody check that movie out.
I mean, that's what was so kind of cool about that Valiant character, Exo Manowar.
Yeah.
Is because he's like like a kind of not a Viking, but like kind of doing like the
Alexander the Great type.
Yeah, like smaller region, like prince or something. He gets abducted by him and his village get abducted by these aliens, and they go off and they use them as slaves. And they eventually revolt, and like there's a special armor that he gets, and he takes the ship back. But by the time he takes the ship back, it was like maybe like a couple years on the ship, and it was
thousands of years, millenniums,
present day basically. So,
yeah, it was ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, did you watch the trailer for the what the fuck? Oh man,
I don't think
Bill and Ted movie.
No, I heard about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
What's his name? Something Presley, or I forget that dude's name who plays Bill. But he just Alex Winters?
I think so.
Oh, I thought Presley. Anyway, so yeah, Alex Winters, he like slips right back into the role.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's hard to tell just from a trailer, but Mr. Keanu Reeves, he's not that happy-go-lucky surfer guy he was back then. Like you can see, he's just been through some shit. He's been through some dark shit. You can just see it in his eyes.
Now, do you think that's on purpose, or just like he has a hard time of doing like the goofy comedy he does now after shooting people in the face and stuff like that?
I think he's just done too many serious movies and has just lived too much. Because he's still like a nice guy and stuff. It's just he seems again though the Alex Winters, he had most of the speaking lines in the trailer, so it's we'll see. I'll watch it.
Oh yeah.
They do a lot of George Carlin references.
Nice.
Because, he was Rufus. So.
Good.
I'm excited. I'm a little too excited. I'm so excited. And I get it on it. Come in my pants and I like it. Hey, you guys and ladies. Well, you are listening to the Drunken Pen Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, Spencer, the Cleveland Clergy Killer Church. Dun, dun, dun. Because your last name's Church.
Yeah.
So you're railing against the clergy, I guess. Because they did you wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe they diddled you in your butt. Ooh. Actually, I just brought up the diddling in the butt because today's article that we're covering is from Cosmopolitan.com. Yes, Cosmo. What could they possibly have to tell us about writing quality fiction? Well, I'll tell you what. 8 pro tips to becoming a successful fan fiction writer. You and I, me and you, Spencer and the Caleb, not big fan fiction readers. I don't think I've ever read fan fiction other than the Twilight stuff we read on air.
Yeah.
which we did not read Twilight, just the shitty excerpts. Not Twilight, 50 Shades.
Yeah.
Which was the fan fiction of Twilight. Yeah, same difference. Both terrible.
Yeah.
I've been asked previously about...
Now, does fan fiction, does it automatically have to be, like, slutty?
No, I mean, I'm always thinking, like, you know,
because like,
Mario and Luigi is gay lovers, or, like, Power Rangers, but they're all having sex. Like, that's what I always think. But no, fan fiction doesn't have to be slutty.
Because, like, a lot of, like, you know, like, a lot of, with, like, comic books, a lot of people and, like, writers will, like, and that's been something I've been thinking about doing just as, like, a warm-up exercise, but will, like, write, like, a Spider-Man story... And like,
I think that's
draw
all.
it, or you know, if you're an artist, you come up with like a simple thing, and then you map it out and you draw it just to get familiar with the character, and it's good exercise and practice.
I think that's how a lot of people actually get into fan fiction. As the wonderful, one of my favorite movies of all time, Finding Forrester, Sir Sean Connery I'm gonna paraphrase here, says something along the lines of, because the kid gets in trouble for using some of his work in his own work, the kid that he's mentoring, and what he uses is something along the lines of, I let him start with my words until he could find his own. Well, you're kind of doing that with the idea with fan fiction. You're taking somebody else's idea and you're turning it into your own. I see a lot of fucking endless fan fiction, but like there's a lot of like famous ones, be like Legend of Zelda. People make stories into that. Yeah. And I'm trying to stay away from the sex ones, which is everything. Yeah. But pretty much anything you can think of that could have a cool universe to it. People want to know more about the universe, and the writers involved in creating that universe, maybe they're dead, maybe they don't want anything to do with it anymore, whatever. So these people take it upon themselves to write such fiction. And from my understanding, not all of it's terrible. Yeah. The downside why fan fiction gets a bad name is because a lot of it is terrible. Yeah. Because a lot of it is like teenagers and young kids who are...
And the slutty stuff. Yeah. Like, it's just...
Well, but even beyond the slutty stuff, like, because even that could probably be done well. But it's just like a lot of people who don't really know how to write, but they want to express themselves and they have these ideas. And then they just... Because the day and age we live in, everything's published online. You can just publish on anything, like creepypasta. There's fucking countless fan fictions on there. So, I can kind of see the negatives of it, but there are some good ones. Like, I remember reading a Spider-Man novel. Yeah? I have it somewhere stashed away. That was really good. I read it when I was a kid. It was a fucking thick one, too. You know, it was a girthy boy. Yeah. And, I mean, I'm not saying that was a fan fiction thing, but it was a Spider-Man novel, so I'm assuming, I mean, they had the licensing rights, but it's pretty much fan fiction because it's not a comic. Like, I feel like anytime you take, like, if you have a Batman novel, just prose, I feel like that's kind of like a fan fiction thing, unless it was, like, somebody who's actually written the comics also writing the novel, because Alan Moore can get away with doing shit like that if he wanted. Hopping into this article, how to become a successful fan fiction writer. I could think of some things, but I'm not going to riff on this one. Because I'll just end up making fun of it. And I don't want, because, like I was trying to say earlier, I've been asked before about, like, my thoughts on fan fiction, or a lot of the writers I follow on Twitter and stuff, they've told me in the past that they actually started writing by doing fan fiction, and then it moves in, like, they take writing more seriously after starting with, like, just doing it for fun, which is what usually fan fiction is.
And the weird thing about, like, fan fiction is it also kind of plays into, like, what we've touched about in previous issues, but there's only so many kind of stories. Yeah. So you're always kind of sort of copying something or doing your own twist on a thing, like, or whatever.
The main thing with fan fiction is you're actually using established characters, settings, and universes. And again, folks, this is from Cosmo. So, I mean, if you ever read the magazine, like, they talk about biting balls and stuff as pleasurable things. I wouldn't take them as the highest, metric here, but we won't judge until we read this article, which was also, by the way, written by Sarah Caldwell in 2015.
And then we'll make fun of it when we're done.
Probably. Number 1, write about celebrities, movies, or characters you love, but make sure your subject has a mass appeal. Now, this one I already am pooing on, because, yes, I can understand why your fucking Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean fan fiction might be popular because people like the movies. Yeah. But I think again, this was written in 2015, so I don't know how big the market was then, but fan fiction is so popular now and so oversaturated. I think if you have a niche, less famous, like, I don't know, what would be, maybe Star Fox or
even if you just like, even if you did like the Pirates of the Caribbean thing, instead of doing like, you know, what do you think the big mass thing is, like, you know, the kind of like the obvious thing. No, use that opportunity to tell like this weird like side story,
like one of the side characters or something,
or like even like I'm not a big fan of the movie, so I don't know if there's like some little like nugget of like history that they only like alluded to and haven't filled out, or, you know, do that kind of stuff, because not only is that better practice or better like workout, but
you'll be more creative with it probably.
And if somebody sees that, that's a better like, oh, you know, that's different, and maybe they might hire you to actually do that.
True.
And you don't want to have the big masses thing, because you don't want to get a whole bunch of money from your fan fiction, because then you're going to get sued.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't want to have it too.
I don't know the copyright laws when it comes to that, because as long as you don't sell it, you won't get in trouble. Yeah. I think. That's why it's like, you know, I don't know, because I feel like when we go to conventions and there's art of famous Marvel characters or DC characters, it's like, how do you get to sell that?
Yeah, like the commissions, like that's a big kind of gray area. Like if Marvel and DC really wanted to crack down, they could
sue.
Yeah, they could crack down on let people draw, like, you know, their characters at conventions and stuff. But I think it would be just such a bad move,
right?
You know.
But like I was saying though, with going more of a niche market, name a less popular movie franchise. So I would say Ninja Turtles, but that's been obviously, it can't be something like that. Okay, like how about the Pitch Perfect universe?
Yeah.
You got some fucking singing shit. You can easily write fan fiction. I think there's 2 or 3 of those movies. You can write some fan fiction on that universe, and even though those were very popular movies, they're not overly popular where it's like Iron Man or a character that's been done so much that like people who are at least interested in those movies might want to read that, versus when, like, I'm just trying to think of how I would be if I was reading fan fiction. Let's say I like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I'm a horror guy. Well, I'm going to see fucking hundreds and hundreds of stories on whatever site I go to. So I'm not going to read any of them probably.
Yeah.
Like, unless your synopsis is fucking cool as hell. Like, how are you going to do that, you know? But anyway, they go on to say, Anna Todd adores Tom Hanks, but a heated romance featuring him as the lead bad boy wouldn't get as many views as one starring a Harry Styles-inspired character. Gardner thinks that Sherlock or Doctor Who fan fiction will be where we see the next major acquisition. True. Those shows have a massive online following, says Gardner, particularly in the fan fiction world. And I skipped the intro, so you can just go on the... so I don't know who Gardner is, but you can go on the... in the show notes to read this wonderful article.
Doctor Who would have been a perfect example, is what we was talking through, because there's so many different things, like with the time travel aspect and, you know, all the different doctors and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of like just little side things you could, you know, just explore and have fun with.
Right. Number 2, don't spend too much time coming up with most original story ever. I don't know why that's all capitalized, the most original story ever, like it's a title. Is that a title or something I'm not aware of? Anyway, just start writing. That's the tip.
Oh.
I mean, I get the just start writing aspect. Like, you gotta start somewhere. Just get into it. But what's the point of writing fan fiction if you're not gonna make it original? Like, if I'm having Jaws and I'm just telling the story of fucking Jaws biting people, like, that's... No. Get, like, fucking radioactive Jaws or something.
Yeah.
Like, get Jaws... he was swimming in the waters where Godzilla became Godzilla.
Do baby Jaws.
Baby Jaws?
Yeah, like when he's just like a little big shark. You know, because even when he's a little shark, he's probably still a big shark, but you know.
Wasn't that the plot of Jaws 3?
I don't know.
I don't know why we're talking about something from the fucking 70s. Like, people, that's another thing. If you're writing fan fiction, maybe not do what we've been suggesting, which is old as dirt fucking movies and stuff. Like, we're talking about everything that's old. Anyway, the success of your story doesn't depend on reinventing the wheel. It depends on you putting your work out there. The same stories have been written again and again, says Gardner. How many variations of Pride and Prejudice have been brought up throughout the years? but it's still something that people find compelling and interesting. If you keep readers on the edge of their seats or establish an exciting alternate universe, meaning you explore what might happen if key changes were made to a character's existing story, your audience will stick with you. At least that's a good point, because that reminds me of the Marvel's like What If series, where you just take some like, what if Captain America was, I don't know, what's a good one? What if the Hulk was pink?
Or just, I mean, it's not. It was a DC's Elseworld.
What if Superman was born in or landed in Russia?
Yeah, that's like the best one there.
Yeah, like just changing up something slightly. My brain's not firing at all. I didn't want to fucking record about fan fiction. God damn it. Yeah, so according to this article, don't even worry about being original. Just write fan fiction.
Be bland.
I mean, I'm not surprised since it's coming from Cosmo, but apparently the most important thing is to just get views, get read. See, I think quality of work would be where I would want to. I think that was what would set your fan fiction apart, is quality story. But you know, whatever you got to do. If you want Dumbledore railing Harry Potter or something, well, that's kind of, it's underage, right? Oh no, you're shaking your head.
Slow head shake.
I know dog shit about Harry Potter, so I couldn't really think of any other characters.
Other than little kids.
Ron Weasley, Hermione. I couldn't remember what the bearded guy's name was. I wanted to say Gregor Rock, and that ain't right. There's a Snape, right? That's got the long hair. Alan Rickman. Professor
I think
Snape.
so.
Look, everybody. J.K. Rowling's canceled. So you finally getting on board with Caleb that Harry Potter's fucking overrated. I'm just saying, you can go ahead and hate on it now. Feel free to let the hate flow. I never was into wizards. And their dumb wands.
Especially like kid wizards.
Yeah, who gives a fuck about kid wizards? Well, I guess most people start reading it when they were kids, so maybe it was... No, I was reading horror, man. I was reading murder. I was reading some Stephen King.
Yeah.
I was reading the real shit while you were saying, me and Harry Potter. Motherfucks. Number 3. Prove you're a true fan by incorporating Easter eggs. You need to show you're part of the tribe about which you're writing. Keep up with the news surrounding your universe and slip references. Okay, we fucking get it. Just throw some goddamn Doctor Who references in, because if you're reading a Doctor Who flash or fan fiction,
you want a dialect.
Yeah, you want some
Cybermen in your face.
What was the name of those guys who you would see them and they were horrifying aliens in suits, but as soon as you looked away, you couldn't see them anymore?
Oh.
Did the big fucking horrific heads.
Yeah. Oh, shit. It's like a newer one, too.
They look like the Men in Black, but they're aliens.
Yeah. I can't remember. Those were cool.
Guys. I like those guys. Sidebar, what would you do if those things were real and you're masturbating and you look over and you see one of them, like, oh! And then you look away and then, you forget about it as soon as you look away, so you just go back and you're just like, ooh, why's my dick so soft? I really hope no young people listen to this podcast. I feel like lately we've been on a good high streak of having higher brow episodes, but we just brought to the fucking back to the gutter in this one.
You did.
I know. But just think about that. Okay, maybe you're not whacking. Maybe you're not that sad of a man or a lady or whatever. You're making.
What if you're just taking a shit?
Okay.
And you look over.
And you just see, in your small bathroom. Like, why are you watching me? I would be more offended that he's watching me. And then again, you look away and you're like, ew, why is poop all up my... Like, how did I smear poop all over me? What if that explains, like, a lot of awful things that happen in your life and, like, a lot of anxiety and anger issues you have? It's just because you keep seeing these fucking horrific aliens. See, that's the fan fiction you need to be writing, folks.
Actually, you know what? Those are your managers at work. Like...
Because there's one guy out there, what if you see those things and you're the guy who's just like, ooh, I'm gonna fuck you, and he just doesn't take his eyes off it, so it's not, it's like, oh my god,
nowhere to go.
And then that poor thing, every time it looks away, it doesn't forget.
What would win in a fight, in a Doctor Who fight? Those things, or the Weeping Angels? Because both of them deal with looking and not looking at them. So, like, if you looked at both of them and then you shut your eyes or you turned around and you turned back around, Well, who would,
Well, I would imagine that aliens would win because once you don't look at them, you don't remember they exist. So they could just walk up behind you and stab you in the neck.
See, but I mean, like, against each other, though.
Yeah, they just stab the stone in your neck.
But see, the stone never looks away, though.
Yeah, but if you walk behind the stone while it's not moving...
But would it have the same effect on the angels, though?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm getting angry. I'm getting furious. Number 4, write a universal story. If you want your fan fiction to eventually reach a mass audience, it can't depend on extensive knowledge of Hogwarts. Sorry. Okay. Number 5. I notice these are getting shorter. Update regularly. Got cases of the mush mouth. What was the guy from Fat Albert? Was his name just Mush Mouth? I never understood that character. Why did he talk like that?
I don't think he was supposed to. I think that was his thing.
Anyway, it doesn't need to be every day, but it does need to be on a set schedule. Figure yours out and stick to it. So a regular schedule will...
I guess that's if you're doing a serial fan fiction.
That's what well, I guess most fan fiction is serial, I think. But that's with any kind of writing. Just be regular and consistent. Number 6, make other writers feel special. I already don't like this one. I don't want other writers to feel special. I want other writers to feel like garbage, and I want them to bow down to me and be like, you, sire, are the master.
You are the writer.
You are the writer, man. You hold and wield the pen that is mightier than my whole being, and I lay here and grovel at your feet, sire. And then I say, kiss it. They what? And I say, kiss it. And I hold my ring out, and I say, kiss it.
But when they're like, no, but they're like, what? Just kiss it and just see where they go. Just as this experiment, see where they go.
Figure it out. And then I go, ew, why do you immediately go for butthole? That's the weirdest thing to... Number 6, make other writers feel special. If you use a site like Wattpad, I thought about signing up to Wattpad because apparently they have contests and stuff, and a lot of writers become... I don't know if they actually become famous, but they win shit and like they get known, and like a lot of Twitter writers get real popular on there.
Yeah, especially if you can like if you like you said you can win stuff. Like if you can get even
a
little bit of money off of your writing is it's cool.
Yeah, you get all. But here's the problem: 1, it's like a social media type of deal, I think. So you're just like, and 2, again, you get to sift through so much fucking dookie. I feel like it would be too hard to find good writers unless you're really, really like don't do anything else. Yeah. So I feel like even if you're a quality writer on there, I think unless you won one of these contests, I think it'd be hard to get people to come. But whatever. Anyway, if you use a site like Wattpad only as a platform for your stories, it will take people a long time to find your work. It's about making connections and building up that network. See, like I said, a social media thing. I don't want that's my problem now. I don't want to fucking deal with that. So
I hate everyone.
Yeah, so retweet other people's work, provided you actually like it. Reply to their posts, recommend their stories at the end of your own. They will be more likely to return the favor. See, I'm gonna wax philosophical here better. I'm gonna tell you my thoughts, my opinions, what grinds my gears, Spencer.
Oh, man.
See, with the Twitter bullshit, I find personally, with the whole writing community, the books you're selling, the stories that are getting read of your, like the things that are getting shared, all this stuff is from other writers because you did the same for them. So I feel like it's not real.
Yeah.
Even if you sell books, if you're only selling to whatever writers that follow you that you bought their books, you're not really making out now, are you? No. You're just fucking spinning your wheels.
You're basically just spending. You're handing $20 back and forth between everybody.
It kind of seems like a circle jerk to me. I didn't want to call anybody out on this, but I've noticed this recently, and it's kind of annoying me because what the fuck are you really accomplishing if the only people that are retweeting you are other writers? And it's cool to have writer friends. Don't get me wrong, I have plenty of writer friends, but when it comes to getting your stories read and stuff, you want readers to read your stories and share them, not writers.
And the chance is that they're probably not even going to read it because they're probably going to be too busy trying to write. Yeah. They got other things to read. like you said, they're gonna buy your book because they bought your book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you bought their book, they buy your, scratch your buck, scratch mine. But that doesn't get you anywhere.
You find that asshole that's like, your book was like $15 and theirs was like $35, and it's like, whoa, man, like.
Yeah, come on, guy. No, I'm in the whole. Well, before we get to this next point, I just want to rail on this point some more.
Okay.
I just don't understand why would you waste so much time building up this huge fan base, quotation marks, when it's not a fan base, it's just the writers. Like, again, the writing community is fine when you want to brainstorm and share stuff, but that is not who you should be marketing your work to.
Because, like I said, they're probably not going to read it, so if they're not going to read it, they're not going to tell anybody else, like, oh, hey, dude, you should check out this book. This author's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get that spread because you're just going to give it to the same people that's not going to read it. You're not going to get any growth.
Right. Now, it's different if, like, some of the writers are also editors for magazines or different publications, or you're getting retweeted by publishers or agents even. Like, that's a broader audience. And that'll reach out if you have a public, like, I don't know, like the Paris Review publishes one of your stories and then they share it on the, because it's in there. Or even if they just, for whatever reason, the Paris Review, which wouldn't do this, but let's just say a story that was on your Wattpad, they shared it, they retweeted it on their profile. That's pretty big news because now you're open up to a whole bunch of new readers, but not writers. Writers. Like you said, don't typically, because we're writing. Yeah. I have a lot of people who want me to read their work, and I'm like, I can't. I'm honest. I'm like, I can't. I don't have time.
You know how much else I want to read before reading your stuff?
Yeah.
Like, you got, like, I got another Stephen King book I want to get. I got a stack of comics I got to get through.
Yeah. Like, I've gotten into that before where it's like, oh, yeah, I'll read your story if you read mine. Like, that's what somebody says to me. And I'm like, okay, and I go for it. And then I read their 10,000 word story. And then they read, well, even the ones who do read my story, and was like, oh, good story, bro. Yeah, you too. And then I'm like, well, what the fuck did that get me?
Yeah.
Because that guy, he's not a fan. He's not sharing. I mean, if you might retweet it or something, but and that would be different if it was like a Stephen King who has a huge following, and then he's like, oh, I love your book, and he shares your. But that's not most writers on there. What you
should do in those scenarios is just give him some shit and just see if he says like anything. If he's like, oh, that's pretty good. Or if he's just like, dude, what the fuck was going on? Yeah. Like, I don't get any of this. It's like, oh, okay, so you actually did read it, and okay, please disregard that. Here's the, that's a test.
Anyway, through our fucking nonsense and rambling, we just went through the main thing to take away is don't get into the circle jerk here. Writers are not your main. That's not your main readership. It shouldn't be.
Like we always like to do like the comedian analogy, like. I've heard them talk about like many comedians get in trouble or get stuck because they're only playing for like the comedians in the back.
Yeah, they want to make those people laugh, but not the audience.
And then they get when they end up petering out or they get stuck to a certain point.
All right. Number 7, make your fans feel special too. Even if you only have 20 at first, interact with them. Respond to DMs. It doesn't take much time to engage, says Gardner. They're so happy when Anna does something as simple as follow them back. She'll respond to their DMs. They'll take screenshots of it, send it around to their friends. That type of acknowledgement is very important to fans. Before you know it, you'll have 200 followers, then 2,000, and so on. That's always a good bit of advice because no matter how famous you are, you have to engage your fans every once in a while if you don't want to be a complete douche. Again, just a simple, like, somebody
especially
tweets.
if you're on, like, if you have a Facebook and you have a Twitter and Instagram, like, it'd be one thing if you didn't have those things, like, you know what I mean? But if you have those tools, you have to use them.
Well, the more famous you get, too, or the more well-known, if somebody tweets, oh, man, I just read blah, blah, blah by so-and-so, and I really loved it, and that's your book, you could just, like, and you see the tweet. I mean, obviously, if you're, like, a Stephen King, you're not going to see all your tweets. But if you do see the tweet, you could just, like, quote tweet it and just be like, oh, man, hey, thanks for reading. Love having a fan. Like, that makes people's day.
Well, I know just from being on the other end, like, from doing reviewing people's like series and stuff like that. Like whenever the one time I reviewed like it was like the first issue, the first volume of Derek Manning's and Twisted's Haunted High on, and like not only because like I reviewed some Derek Manning stuff before, and he would always like it or like reshare it or whatever. But that time, not only did he like it, but like Twisted the band, I think it was on Twitter, like commented just like, "Oh, thanks for the review, man. That's cool." And I was just like, "What the hell?" I was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
this makes
like
me feel
that
good.
little thing that took less than a minute that they maybe neither one of them actually did. The guy who they have run this, like, you know what I mean?
Number 8, flaunt your stats to agents and publishers. After all this work, you'd think the sheer popularity of your fiction might be enough to attract a publisher. One can dream. But if not, look at who's represented successful fan fiction writers. Cassandra Clare, for example. You can find the publisher of a book on its first page, and agents and editors are usually mentioned by name in the acknowledgement section of a book. Then what? Should you cold call or email these people? Yes, but that may not get you very far. More realistic, follow them on Twitter. Most publishers and agents are now on social media. See if they'll be attending fan conventions or hosting panels that might be relevant to your work. Events like those are your chance to network and show off stats. One thing that fan fiction writers have is data, says Gardner. You tell them how many reads you have, how many followers you have, where you're active online. Oh, God. I fucking want to read this. Where you're active online. Show them that you have this built-in network behind. Obviously, you want to have a fucking fan base of sorts if you're going for a publisher. But as we talked to Nick Obergon just last week, or, well, 2 weeks ago when this publishes or airs or whatever, but he said he doesn't have a huge social media following, and he got published by Penguin. Yeah. They don't necessarily go for that. It just helps.
Though, I don't know how, like, I don't know how, like, an agent would react to you giving them fan fiction.
Well, I think these are, like, agents that take that. I think that's why he gave the example.
Because, like, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you can write something that's already kind of established, but
well, how do you publish fan fiction? That would have been more helpful if it actually went into what fan fiction is, and that's probably what we should have looked up, is more detail on the actual world of fan fiction, because how would you get a novel published that is set in a established universe? Yeah. How do you get around the copyright infringement?
The only way that would work is, like, again, like with like the comic scenario, if you wrote drew your own thing, because like that's an actual thing. You can show them to show that you can actually do the thing, you know.
What would be the goal of that? Be like, hey, I wrote this fan fiction novel, and if the agent reads it and likes it, be like, oh, that's great. Now can you write an original novel? And then we could like, is that what the goal is? I don't understand, like, what you're going for. Again, let me look it up real quick, because there has to be some kind of famous fan fiction that gets published, because I don't understand how you get through the legal loopholes of publishing what's essentially somebody else's creation, unless it's in the public domain.
Well, I mean, how much fan fiction actually gets published, it's just not put out online?
Here we go. 5 famous books that started off as fan fiction. The Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. Clary is Ginny Weasley and Jace is Draco Malfoy. The series is based on Claire's Harry Potter fan fiction. So she wrote Harry Potter fan fiction, and then when she went to write the novel, she just changed the names. So I guess that's the way. That seems really shitty to me. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why I don't like fan fiction in general, but I mean, I get it. But when you're, say you have like her, apparently a very popular series. It's essentially an established universe, which is the Harry Potter universe, and all she did is change all the names. And I mean, she created her own stories, but she used, Hogwarts and everything, but probably just changed the names.
It's kind of a dick move.
I would think.
It's like, again, the comic thing is like kind of stealing somebody's bit and just doing like one thing different, like or like the Vanilla Ice, like it's like no, like that doesn't count.
Well, there's a disclaimer on this that says, Claire has been accused of plagiarism many times, from copying throwaway lines from Buffy to lifting chapters from an out-of-print novel. So, there you fucking go. Number 2 on here is Point Pleasant by Jen Archer Wood. Can't get enough of CW's Supernatural? Check out this moody horror by one of the series' biggest fans. Monster Slaying Dean Winchester is best-selling author Ben Weishart. So again, that's all you're doing is changing the names. That's it's interesting.
I don't like it.
I don't like that at all either. We might lose some fans because of this, but I'm sorry, folks. Writing fan fiction for fun or even just having it published online is fine, but if you're making a profit off of what is essentially someone else's idea,
yeah,
that just doesn't sit well with me. I don't like that. Number 5 is Paradise.
Especially like unless if you get consent or whatever from the creator or whatever it is. But what's the chances of that happening?
Yeah. Now this one's a little different. Number 3 is Paradise Lost by John Milton, and it's an epic poem that retells the tale of Adam and Eve's banishment from the Garden of Eden. Again, that kind of goes with public domain. I don't see even so, like if something's a public domain, I don't necessarily rip that off. But like something from like the Bible, because like Neil Gaiman did the whole Norse mythology series or the book with the stories and stuff. Like that's a little different. I don't mind that so much. Now here's another one I don't necessarily mind so much because I think it's different enough. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, because I remember there was like a different, like Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter, like things like that. Yeah, you're taking an established work, but you're creating like something, zombies. Like you're doing something different. But when you're just changing the names and maybe you're creating your own original story, but you're just essentially taking characters that are already developed, setting that's already there, everything, and then you're just changing the names. That I don't like that. And then obviously number 5 is 50 Shades of Grey. We've covered that essentially many times on this podcast. So, what do you take away from all this, Spencer?
Maybe not do fan fiction.
Do you think we should read fan fiction and then judge? Because what fan fiction have you read? I've never really read any, I don't think.
No, I guess not.
I just feel like, say I'm reading that one lady's work, the Harry Potter ripoff, and I'm reading it, and like, okay, if you just read it and you didn't know it was based off of Harry Potter, maybe that would be one thing. But if I'm reading it and like, does the book say this is who Harry Potter would be?
Yeah.
And, Drake Jacko Jackoff Malfoy, whatever his name is. Neville Longbottom. I know him. I'm a big Neville Longbottom fan.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's the fucking real chosen one. I know that. But then again, apparently everybody hates J.K. Rowling, so if you want to write awful fan fiction of her work, go ahead. But, I don't want to make it sound like we're shitting on fan fiction or people who write fan fiction. No. I just don't think that should be your end goal as a writer, is to just write stuff based off of someone else's work. But then, going back to 50 Shades. So that's apparently Twilight, right?
Yeah.
But that's a little different than just changing the names, because if you just read 50 Shades... Yeah, if you just read 50 Shades of Grey, you wouldn't think that was based off Twilight at all, right? Because even if it was like the Twilight sex fantasy, well... Like, Twilight one guy wasn't a billionaire, he was a vampire, and there was wolves and werewolves and shit. So, maybe, I didn't read the original, so maybe the original was closer to Twilight, and then she just changed it and became a super mega millionaire, and here me and Spencer are just sitting and crying in our own bathtubs while we eat fucking ice cream. Together, by the way.
Not even spoon, just hands. Yes, just hands digging into it.
Just crying. Sobbing's the word. But yeah, if you like fan fiction, I don't know what to recommend, because like I said, I've been on Creepypasta, and they have
I feel like I wouldn't want that in my browser history.
Creepypasta?
Yeah, just the name, just like
Well, that's where like Slender Man and stuff came from.
I don't know that, but I'm just saying.
Well, see, there's your problem, Spencer. You don't know anything about the online writing world.
No,
you gotta get involved, son.
Maybe.
Have you ever heard of Wattpad before I said it earlier?
I've heard that before.
But you haven't heard of Creepypasta?
But I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I've heard the
word.
Yeah. I know it's like a website thing, but I don't know exactly what you did on it.
It's hard to say, like, if you didn't know what it is, to just be like, that's porn, right? Like, I'm always just like, that's probably porn, right? And it's hard to distinguish some things from porn. If I had a porn site, I would
like the creepy thing. That's
Creepypasta. You just think it's like a guy with the noodle fetish.
Yeah, something weird.
Ew.
Something creepy.
In the name, creepy. Well, let's end it on this. What would you... better way to phrase this. What would you recommend amateur writers who are just trying their hand at writing, and they're not even sure their creativity levels or their writing talent or anything like that, literally just starting from scratch, getting into it, what would you recommend them do to get into writing? Would you recommend fan fiction, like trying some universe that's established or something that they enjoy reading and try that?
Yeah, especially if you have no like intentions on like trying to sell it or anything. Maybe like let a friend or something be like, "Hey, can you check this out? What do you think about it?" You know, other than that, I think it's perfectly fine. But like again, it gets weird and murky when you try to have
monetize it. That's
and have popular things and have people get views and hits and stuff from.
It gets dirty, perverted.
Because then if you get enough of those, you can get ads, and then you're technically getting paid for something that you didn't create or get permission to write.
Well, when you were a young gentleman who started writing, what did you start doing to get into writing? Did you just start? Because I just started writing original stories. Yeah, I literally just jumped into that. I didn't.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure there was probably, especially.
I'm sure you're influenced by stuff.
And like, I'm sure like I'd probably kind of try to come up with some kind of like Spider-Man story or something. But yeah, it was just like I tried to, because like, you know, Stephen King. I like one of the like Stephen King thing is like take something normal and make it weird.
Yeah.
So that's what I just was trying to do, like weird little quick short stories, you know, fiction pieces.
If you read a lot of my early stuff, you can probably tell what, like if you're a very well-read person, you could probably tell what author I was reading at the time. Yeah. Because I didn't have a real original style then. Well, even now, like certain things, but I feel like we both have like kind of our voices set now. But like there's a lot of things like, Caleb must have been reading a lot of H.P. Lovecraft at the time, or just different things like that.
Is that why he's been so racist recently? Just all the Lovecraft?
God damn it. Is that why he hates the Arabians?
Oh, man.
Is that how he says it? Arabian? I don't think I've ever heard him in an interview. I don't know if he was ever interviewed while he was alive.
He says it like, he says it how Trump would probably say it.
Probably. Yeah.
Personally wrong.
Well, since we just decided to be racist at the very end, let's end it on that. If you want to read our fiction, you can go to drunkenpenwriting.com. I'm sorry to say you will not find any fan fiction on there. I've had people, that's another thing, people like to submit fan fiction, but we don't take fan fiction. Yeah. So if you want to submit a story, feel free to reach out to us and let us know what the story is. But if it's fan fiction, sorry, for the reasons described earlier, don't take it. Yeah. Most publishers don't. Again, the copyright stuff too. I can't be posting a fucking Spider-Man story on the site, because then when Spider-Man gets mad and he comes and web slings me in the dick.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah,
you don't want any of that. He got radioactive sludge coming out of his hands. I don't know what the fuck that does to you when it touches you. Ew. Turn Mary Jane's blood into radioactive cancer, right? Or that was a spooge. Same difference.
Yeah, they did it. They did like a kind of like a Dark Knight story. Yeah.
Anyway, you can follow us on Twitter at DrunkpenWriting, Instagram and Facebook, Drunken Pen Writing. If you do want to write a different kind of fan fiction and send it our way, James Joyce has wonderful fuck fiction. His technically, I guess they're love letters, but it's just all about fart. It's fart fiction, and you read those first, and then if you can write something like that, send that our way.
Yeah.
Send fan fiction of James Joyce's love life, please. Goodbye.